you guys' Lord and Savior, Dr. Fauci. No, you guys have heard, him and Jim Jordan. They had their little powwow or go back and forth on the COVIDs, and some interesting conversation within that altercation. But one of the biggest questions is, and he's been asked this before, and now he's getting asked by someone that obviously is on a different side of the political spectrum than him. And that is, you have spots like Texas who simply are not having the reaction or the response that you said they would have in the event that they lifted their restrictions. And in fact, they're doing a lot better off than people with the hardest, or rather the most strict lockdowns, restrictions in the country. So it doesn't make sense. It's almost as if there's more to the story. So Jim Jordan asked him about that. Let's see what Mr. Y'all Lord and Savior Fauci, let's see what he had to say about this whole situation. So listen in.
You gave us a guess on Texas. Look at the chart here. This is 7-day average of case rate per 100,000 people. You gave us your guess on Texas. You said when Texas ended their lockdown, ended their mandate, that this was, quote, inexplicable and would lead to a surge in cases. Texas is near the bottom of the 50 states, but all the states at the top are lockdown states. So how great was that? That guess didn't seem to be too good.
Well, I can answer that for you, Jim Jordan. He's been wrong a bunch of times, and also he takes both sides, so he's never wrong at the same time, if that makes sense, you know? Like they said, what's the name said on Always Sunny in Philadelphia? I play both sides, so I always come out on top. That's Fauci.
What explains why Texas is so darn low compared to the rest of the states? Lockdown states have a much higher case rate than the state of Texas, which is over a month ago now, said we're not going to lock down, we're not going to have all these mandates that you say we have to have.
Yeah, there's a difference between lockdown and the people obeying the lockdown.
See, it's almost like there was a certain black guy on YouTube who nickname is Young Ripper 59. I don't know, you may have heard of the guy. It's almost like he discussed, definitely when we were talking about Sweden back in the day. Y'all remember Sweden? That fell out the news cycle, didn't it? Y'all remember Sweden and the guys, the one country that definitely was in the West, or rather in Europe, that just didn't do any of this shit, and they didn't have any worse of a reaction than some of these highly strict lockdown spots. It's almost as if my whole entire narrative in that video was they will never admit that they were wrong. It's almost like I said that they would say back then. If you go look at those series of videos when we talk about Sweden, we talk about the reactions versus lockdown states and countries versus none. It's almost as if I said that that's exactly what they would do. They would try to pin the lack of, following of their rules, right? Because they never can concede that they got it wrong. So it's like, y'all not listening to us. Never mind the fact that that's a common theme definitely in America, so it's got to be some other explanation. It's almost like I said that that's exactly what they would say. I don't know. Let's keep listening to Fauci.
You know, you could have a situation where they say we're going to lock down, and yet you have people doing exactly what they want to do.
Is that what is happening in the top 8 states in the country? They're just not following what's been told. They're not listening to Dr. Fauci.
I'm sorry, you're speaking so fast, I'm not even hearing what you're saying.
Well, you can look at the numbers.
I can't see that, it's too far away.
Okay, well, Michigan's at 551 cases per 100,000. Texas is at 77. Wisconsin's at 109 because their state Supreme Court overruled their governor, their Republican court, and said, we're not going to have a lockdown in Wisconsin. And their numbers are 5 times lower than the state of Michigan, which is right next door.
Gentleman's time has expired.
But Mr. Chairman, it's typical when there's a question on the table that the witness gets a chance to respond to that last question. I want to know why. Why Wisconsin's at 109 and right next door Michigan's at 551. Michigan is locked down and Wisconsin isn't.
I think the gentleman answered you quite clearly.
No, he didn't. He didn't answer shit. What are you talking about? He didn't answer a goddamn thing.
State by order, and being a state that obeys orders. That answered the question. in my opinion.
We have-
And with
we don't
that,
obey orders in
the chair recognizes
follow the
Mr.
Constitution.
Krishner
That's a problem.
Murphy.
Man, this is why. Look, man, all of those fucking congressmen, they need to be out of jobs, every last one of them. Now, obviously, I'm of the position that their position shouldn't even be a position. They got fake jobs anyway, in which they can send people over to war and all sorts of bullshit like that. But you got this guy who everybody's clinging. He finally gets good questions from someone that maybe disagrees with him, and the motherfucker gets to dance around it. He gets to go on basically MSNBC, the CNNs of the world, and they give him all of this time to answer because they throw him these softball ass questions. And the minute he get the heat on him, we gotta sit up here and this is what I'm talking about, man. Let me calm down just a little bit. Because it's frustrating for me, and you guys need to understand that, because I've seen, and in my industry, you know, thankfully, I had my community. I had a lot of stuff that I could do digitally, excuse me. A lot of people didn't have such a luxury. And I saw people's lives get ruined because of this bullshit. People dipping into their savings, people losing their businesses. And these ass hats think that is funny, bro. Like, they think that is funny. And then when they get caught with egg on their face, they don't even have enough dignity to say, okay, we got it wrong. They don't even have enough dignity. They still dig their feet in and say, oh, well, it's maybe they just not listening. Okay, you mean to tell me all 8 of them states, that's the position? That's the position, that they don't listen. Come on, man. In the words of Joe Biden. You got to follow the money, number one, but you got to look at who has stuff to gain. And Fauci's, I think, is one of, if not the person that has the most to gain. Let me take the stupid Band-Aid off. Have the most to gain from this can constantly being kicked down the road when it comes to these lockdowns. They have the most to gain. Fauci, who was not a household name. That doesn't mean that he wasn't employed by the government for as long as he had been employed, or him being a respected supposed doctor. That's irrelevant. Most people had no idea who he was. COVID hits, the COVID's hit, and I'll even toss a little blame to Trump. That motherfucker should have never been given that platform, and yet he got it. And now we're clinging to his every word as people's lives get ruined. And that little fucking boxhead muff, he just can't concede that he got it wrong. He can't concede it. And they'll never admit it because they have the most to gain in the event that you still are scared as I don't know what, and these lockdowns or restrictions continue surrounding the COVIDs. They'll never concede that they got it wrong. They just can't. It's not in them because they don't have no dignity. Unbelievable, man. Unfucking believable. That's the best that he came up with. And never mind, he never answered the question about Texas. He never even touched that. He just said when it came to the top, well, doesn't mean that they're listening. So that's the hill you want to go die on, Fauci? That they wasn't listening? All right, man, whatever. Fuck that nigga, man. These people are fucking evil sons of bitches, man. That's the only way that I can put it. Evil motherfuckers. But if nothing else, this past year has simply not only proven me right about a lot of things, but if nothing else, it's an example of what we can point to years to come. In that populaces prefer safety and security over liberty, unfortunately. And this is why that government is so dangerous, because they will prey on that shit. Government is so dangerous because of that instant. They will absolutely prey on it. They prey on it, bro. And it sucks. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.